Welcome back to the PT Graduate Podcast. And today my guest is Caleb Carey. Welcome, Caleb.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's good. It's great to make the connection. And that was because of our common friend Kelly, right?
Yeah, Kelly I used to work under Kelly at 9 Round actually a couple of years ago, probably a few years ago now. Yeah, a few years ago now.
Right. Yeah, so it's been going a while, 9 Round, hasn't it?
I'm not too sure. I know that
Few
Kelly, I think she came for her 4th or 5th birthday, I think.
Yeah.
She was telling me not so long ago. So it's pretty,
Yeah.
good on her actually. Yeah, especially to go through the COVID process. And
Yeah.
I know that must have been hard on her, but yeah, she seemed to stuck it out and yeah, good on her. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She's just definitely tenacious, isn't she?
Honestly, I applaud her. I think she moved heavily onto that online space during COVID, as a lot of people did. And obviously she was able to retain a lot of her clients to that. So
she did a great
good
job.
on her. Yeah, good on her.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Fantastic. So let me see if I've got some of my my research right. So you did some work at AUT, some work at New Zealand Football. This is strength and conditioning.
Correct.
Teaching assistant back at AUT. Strength and conditioning coach with the Northern Marvels.
Yeah, so they feed into the Northern Mystics.
Oh, Mystics, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then and now working with the team at Westlake and leading their sports academy.
Yeah, so oversee the Academy of Sport at Westlake. So all their youth development practices, more so the S&C side of things. So
right. Yep.
Yeah, the Academy of Sport is pretty big at Westlake.
Right.
They invest into sort of 6 primary sports, and I look after all the youth development practices for that.
Fantastic.
It's pretty good.
How long have you been at Westlake?
They asked me to come on towards the end of last year. I've been there for about 6 months so far. I'm still actually studying full time. The funny thing about that, I was supposed to be finished in February, so I took on the role thinking, it'll be all done, and then COVID's kind of prolonged that until April. Now it's until August. Now it's been extended to September. So trying to juggle that full-time study, full-time work is at times can be a bit of a stressful hazard, but no, it's all right. It's all good.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you didn't see that coming and you couldn't control it, it's like, you've got no choice but to sink or swim. Get on with it.
Yeah, definitely. So no, it's definitely teaching me. It's taught me a lot actually. I like to call it character building. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah.
Looking
so I've been there for about 6 months so far.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. And so how did that work? It sounds like you may have had a bit of a shoulder tap to move into that role.
Yeah. So long story short, I used to work for Athlete Development out of the Millennium here in Auckland. Yeah. So I worked there for about 2 years, and I pretty much got asked if I want to do some work for Westlake on the side.
Yeah.
Just while I was still studying. And then long story short, they pretty much hit me up towards the end of last year saying that our lead S&C is leaving. Would you want to take on the role? We like the stuff that you do. So I said, why not, right? So now I'm leading that area. I got 3 people working underneath me. So it's good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Awesome.
I've worked heavily in the youth space.
Yeah.
But I think I'm ready for that next sort of step, to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
I've worked in the youth space for maybe about 3 years now. So ready for that sort of next challenge, next step.
Sure.
I guess in that sort of career. Yeah.
And is that the pathway you envisaged when you started getting into it, and you got the studies going and you saw opportunities with it?
Good question. I don't really know what my pathway was. I've always kind of been I've always aspired to sort of get into that performance environment. I guess as a lot of people do, but I've kind of continued with that. And I'm still sort of aspiring to get to there. So did I expect this along the way? Not really. I don't really know what there was out there, to be completely honest with you. I started studying with the unknown. I just know I wanted to heavily work in that sport space. So that performance environment. And along the way, I've kind of dabbled into areas. I've dabbled obviously into the group fitness scene. I've dabbled into I haven't really done personal training, but I've done that sort of fitness instructor environment. I've done a lot of internships here and there, trying to get a taste of everything. And over the time, I've spoken to a few people, you know, that it's sort of led me down that use space, and I've talked to a lot of people, and they say that's sort of the first sort of initial phases before you, I guess, develop yourself as an S&C or as a trainer, what do you want to call yourself? Yeah. So yeah, I guess I've then fallen into those positions just as time has progressed.
Nice. So I guess you were probably in the right place at the right time at the very beginning. So where was AUT where you started that process in terms of your studies?
Yes, I started my undergrad at AUT. I'm still at AUT now. I'm doing my master's, just finishing off my thesis at the moment. So I do my undergrad at AUT. And then part of your second year, you've got to do 2 placements.
Okay.
I actually did my first one at 9 Round. I was already working there, but I just did that there just because I'd just come back from the States actually on an exchange. So I was pretty low for money, so I didn't really want to go out and go invest my time on free work. So I just needed a bit of money at the time. And then for my second placement, I actually worked out at Athlete Development, and they offered me a role at the end of that. So I started working there part-time. And then I did my in my third year, you also have to pick up a 400-hour placement.
Okay.
And I applied. I knew I wanted to get into that performance space, as I said to you before. So I was already sort of working in that youth space. I've done some work in that group fitness environment. I worked out as sort of the Auckland Council sort of fitness instructor roles. I had that as a part-time gig at the same time. Trying to just dabbling into everything. So I thought this would be a good time to, I guess get a taste of that performance environment. So I put my CV out to many different organizations, and I pretty much took the first one that got back to me, which is the Northern Stars. It was for the ANZ Premiership.
Okay.
So I took that, and I also took on a New Zealand Football got back to me too. So I took on 2 internships at once, bravely. And it's kind of just everything sort of fallen in track. I got through a connection at AD, I got the role at build that connection at Westlake. They've obviously liked what I was doing, so then they've asked me to take a full-time role there. Which there's not much full-time role S&C roles out there, so it's pretty fortunate.
That's probably going to be my next question. Is how many are there and where do you find them? Because I guess you need to have your ear to the ground and be talking to the right people if they're rare.
Great question. Who knows how many? There's not much. You could probably count them on your hand. I'm pretty fortunate, to be completely honest with you. Just happened to be, I don't know, right place, right time, right people. I don't know. I'm pretty big on the people I talk to too. Like I have university students underneath me, and I keep telling them, you never know when opportunity is going to arise. So make sure you, I don't know, at least seem like you're putting in the work. Because you never know what that person knows, who that person knows, where the opportunity is going to lead you. So one thing just led to another, and I've now got this role at Westlake. So it's nice. It's nice.
And did you have a sporting background yourself? Like, was football something that you did, or was there a sport that you?
I actually I played league my entire life. Rugby league's my background. I've actually still at the moment, actually, I want to pursue that league space. It's just fortunate enough that obviously, we just talked about the S&C. You could probably count the number of professional teams in New Zealand on your hands, and they've probably got one S&C, per team. So it's I realized real quick that trying to get a role in that league space is probably going to be really hard to come by.
Right.
So I just started to take opportunities as they came. So that's how I got that role in New Zealand Football. That was from internship, obviously, as I said before. I did some stuff with Harbour Rugby, and I've also done some stuff with Moana Pacifica at the beginning of this year too. Just during lockdown, I just picked up a sort of placement there, just because I was bored. I thought it'd probably look better on my CV. So I just took up some additional stuff.
Rack them up.
So just building connections there is sort of what I've learned. Because as you're saying, you never know where that connection is going to lead you.
No, it's a smart skill. And is that something that someone taught you, or have you just picked that up intuitively?
I've always been pretty independent, to be honest. I don't know. I have no clue. I don't know. But no, rugby league is I played rugby league my entire life.
Right.
And I've always wanted to sort of pursue that, but injuries have sort of led to one another. Had double hip surgery at the age of 15.
Really?
had a shoulder reconstruction at age 18.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, was playing over in Australia and stuff, and that sort of just came to an end. So
tough sport.
Tough sport, yeah. But I think that's sort of been my drive in that performance space. I think is I've always wanted to play in that environment. So I thought if I can't play in that environment, I'll try and work in that environment. I guess that's been my drive. If you really, get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah. And tell me more about the masters. Obviously, you're in the process of finishing that off and getting that tucked away, so you haven't got so many plates spinning at the same time. But what's the top? What's the area that you've looked at in that that study?
Yeah. So I started my long story short, I'm looking at so there's I don't know if you've heard of it before, REDS, relative energy deficiency in sports syndrome.
No, fill us in.
Yeah, so relative energy deficiency in sports syndrome is basically a consequence of low energy availability or energy deficiencies. And we know that's quite high in female athletes, and it's when some of the difference of those is starting to get more, I guess, acknowledged in male athletes too, or males. And it's basically means that the body starts to shut down. So part of my research is that we're trained to quantify how much energy you expend during 2 different training modes.
Right.
To hopefully then inform nutritional requirements or caloric requirements.
Yes.
Minimize energy deficiencies or low energy. So that's my sort of piece of research, looking at, I guess, the menstrual cycle and that's effects from low energy availability, the consequences of that, and how can we mitigate that? Really is the big question, and it's pretty topical at the moment. So it's pretty interesting. I actually really enjoy it. It's something you never learn about at uni. Obviously, the menstrual cycle is pretty taboo topic it seems, but I did a lot of stuff on that when I was with the stars, and that sort of led over to my masters, and now I'm heavily involved in the female physiology space, which is quite nice. It's quite nice.
I caught an article on the news, I think it was recently, and they were talking. There was a girl who was doing some. It may have been when I was researching you, actually. Emma, is it Emma O'Loughlin?
Emma O'Loughlin.
And she's doing some work with recovering from injuries, but specifically with ladies in she's using the netball teams as the people who are participating in the study. And again, like you say, using the menstrual cycle in terms of studying that and I guess leveraging it to maximum effect so that they can get the more efficient recovery time from, say, ACL injuries.
Because
really interesting.
During the particular phases, you're supposed to, let's say during the first phase, let's say performance enhancing, and then during the second phase of their cycle, you're sort of in their rest and recover mode. So I know now teams are saying to sort of manipulate their training cycle or their periodization plan to sort of fit that. I know Harbour Rugby at the moment is trialing it, but it's quite a hard thing to do, right, in a team environment. I'm quite heavily involved in the team space, so it's a hard thing to do. You can do it easily with one-on-one clients, or people are training for an event. You can probably manipulate your plan based on their cycle, but we've got 15 girls, 20 girls. Shit, good luck.
Tell me how you're doing it. busy. You got your work cut out.
I think that's the problem too. In New Zealand, we don't have much S&Cs in that environment. You might have one paid person. You might have a paid part-time, right? If you're lucky, and then suddenly you might have, if you're lucky too, you've got some interns underneath you. So trying to manage that is a hard thing. And I think Harbour Rugby's got about 4 or 5 staff trying to do that at the moment. So I'd be interested to see how that plays out.
And there isn't a lot of research in that space, is it? I mean, historically, so much sports research has been done on men. It's sort of watered down, so this is how it might work on women, and it's not the case.
Not true. No. You're completely right. A lot of the studies you find have done on males, whether that's because it's, I guess, easier, as I'm finding, very hormonal things you got to take into place, or just because we live in such a male-dominated society, right? So that's also yeah, the patriarchy is pretty big, as I keep hearing from my partner. So yeah. No, yeah, you got those two things come into play, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I guess it's that female space is definitely getting more research and more developed, but it's nowhere near where it should be. No,
Right.
and you can't just keep applying what happens to males across to females, as we're now finding out. You get two different responses depending on what you're doing, obviously. But
yeah,
you got basically two different phases in this cycle, right? And they do two completely different things. So yeah, it's definitely a space that needs more research, and it's an interesting space. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good that you're, I guess, contributing to that and making a difference as you go through your own studies. It's good to see that's the angle you've taken. I think you'll be adding so much more value to the research out there by doing something like that.
Yeah, we hope so. We're looking to publish the data too. So
great.
It's pretty cool having my last name on something. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Pretty excited for that, to be completely honest with you. So
that
should be good adding to the academic world. So it's nice.
And so how do you see that playing out in the future? Do you see it just as a qualification, which is sort of a stepping stone, or do you actually really enjoy that academic stuff so much that you can see yourself staying in that world as well as doing the practical stuff?
Yeah, good question. I'm really enjoying it, to be completely honest with you. I'm really enjoying it. Research is now something I'm considering as a career pathway.
Okay.
I've always kind of been, I guess Kelly may know this, always kind of been wanting that next challenge. What's the next step?
Yeah.
I'm intellectually sort of stimulated. If the role doesn't give me that, I'm ready for the next one. Okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And that's why I kind of felt that group fitness environment, that I guess that PT environment or that fitness instructor role wasn't really for me. I felt like I wasn't really challenged.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I wasn't really using my knowledge personally to the best as what I thought I could be.
Yeah.
Quite repetitive. I thought, all right, next thing. That's where I sort of dabbled into that youth space, get a taste of that high performance environment. Okay, that's something a little bit more for me. I've tried to dabble in everything, and then now I've sort of dabbled in the research space. I've gone, holy shit, maybe this is something I'm also interested in. So yeah, PhD is definitely on the cards.
Yeah. I thought that's where we were going. Yeah.
That is on the cards. I'm trying to actually, I'm on track to receiving a fully funded scholarship at the moment. So yeah, it's definitely on the cards. I want to brag first, to be completely honest, after my master's, ready for a bit of a break.
Yeah. I guess get the masters ticked off first, but do you think you might, if that's the case, do you think you'd sort of stay in that arena in terms of what you've done with the masters and I guess keep exploring that space with the female research and how that can I guess grow that field?
I think I've talked to a lot of people and they always say that do something that you're really, really, really passionate about. If you're going to do a PhD. Would I say I'm really, really passionate about it? Probably not.
Okay.
I have a complete interest in it. I have a complete interest in everything, in terms of that space.
Yeah.
Whether I'm completely passionate, I don't know the answer to that.
Sure.
I think I'm more interested in, I'm pretty big on the whole environment at the moment. Sort of changed my lifestyle because of it too. So I'm more interested in the looking at the consequences of our eating behaviors in terms of climate change and that sort of side of things. So I think if I was to do a PhD, I would look down the route of our eating behaviors and looking at our food literacy. What's that consequence on the environment? How can we get better that based on human behavior and that I'd sort of look down that side of things if I was to do a PhD, sort of into that nutritional space, health space.
Right.
Yeah, as a job, I don't think I would continue that as a job. That's just what I'm really passionate about.
Sure.
I think if I was to do a PhD, it would be down that food literacy, eating behaviors, environmental impact sort of space. Yeah.
Interesting. I noticed there was a filming a showing of is it a Sacred Cow? Does that ring a bell?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of that.
AUT?
Was it a New Zealand show? Yeah, was it a New Zealand?
Yeah.
I've heard something like that. Yeah.
Coming up this month or next month, I think, at the Akaranga site.
Okay, is it someone filmed it from AUT, is it?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah, I think so, or a New Zealander.
Right.
And it's very much on that topic you just talked about in terms of not just nutrition, but the environmental impact of it.
Yeah. I think that's got a bit of a paradigm shift in the last couple of years. So I guess become a little bit more woken on things. In the last sort of 3-4 years. So I think my passion actually lies with that. Whether I want to pursue that as a job, I don't know. Probably, maybe not. I enjoy what I'm doing at the moment, but that's my side sort of passion.
Yeah. It kind of seems a logical conclusion to if you get into the master's space that you wouldn't stop there, because there's clearly a passion for the education and the learning and the research side of things. And that would just be the old Dr. Carey.
Yeah. Sounds a bit weird. I'd hate for people to call me that, to be completely honest.
just in your passport, and then everyone else can call you Caleb.
Yeah. People just call me by my name.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely I like the learning process. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I never actually passed school, surprisingly. So yeah, they've done a full U-turn. Yeah.
Right.
So it's quite weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think sparked it? If that was the case with school, what sort of made it change when you got a bit older and a bit more mature? Is there something that sort of triggered that for you?
Maturity, I guess. Growing up.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So any influential people in your life that you can sort of go, actually, that person may have had an influence?
Yeah, my partner and their family. I moved in with them when I was about 18. Just had a lot of trouble at home.
Yeah.
Pretty much was homeless for about 2 years at the age of 16, and then ended up turning my life around when I was living with them, actually. So they're quite educated academic family. And they've done a lot for me. So yeah, they've sort of guided me down that pathway of you go get an education. I've really, I guess, enjoyed the process, actually. Doing something that I guess I'm interested in was a difference compared to school.
Yeah.
Thinking that everyone's there to, I guess, make your life harder when they're really not. And it's funny enough that I've ended up working in the school environment.
In a school.
I hated school, and I'm now working in a school.
Yeah. Does that mean, I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? So does that mean you bring a different, I guess, a different attitude or perspective to the school, and knowing what your experience was like, and trying not to sort of let that happen again for the boys and the students around you?
Very much so. I definitely took on the role, making a promise to myself that I'll never try and make the kids' life harder, you know?
Yeah.
I see other teachers at school personally, and you just think, why are you doing that? You know, there's just no reason to get the boys to stand up in the middle of lunchtime, tucking their shirts, pull their socks up, and so you're just literally making their life harder. So no, I am.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I'm a pretty chill teacher.
Yep.
The kids seem to think so. So yeah. I'm there to try and help them. I don't want to try and make their life harder. So I can definitely take on what I've experienced during school, and I say I don't want to dish it out to kids. I want to make sure they make their life. You know what kids are going through during high school, so I don't want to make their life any harder.
No. I mean, there's so many other challenges when you're that age, aren't there? That isn't just school related. You know, you're finding yourself what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, who your mates are, who your mates aren't. There's so many layers to work through as a teenager, and anything that can make that more challenging is just not helpful.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. I still laugh at myself, actually, that I'm in this role. And people that kind of know my past, I guess, laugh at me in this role too.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. It's good. I try and enlighten them, I guess, from things.
Can you remind me what the 6 sports are that you referred to earlier at the school that you oversee?
Yeah. So from the SSC side of things, the school sort of invests heavily into 6 sports. That's hockey, basketball, cricket, rugby, rowing, and so basketball, cricket, rowing, hockey as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the 6 primary sports. They invest heavily into those. There's like a director of each sport.
Okay.
There's like a team under each. It's funny enough that's that big that there's team. There's a sort of director role for each of the sports, and then they have a team with them, and then you have the director of Academy of Sport, and then you have me overseeing all the S&C side of things for for the kids, well, for the youth sort of development athletes, or the kids that pick for the premier roles in the age.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
So do you have most contact with sort of the top teams in each of those sports?
Yeah, so I look after, so the prems are a little bit different. So the academies from year 9 to 11.
Yeah.
So you got a trial, you then have to be selected.
Right.
And part of your subjects at school, you have 3 academy of sports sessions. So let's say you're a rugby kid, you'll then have 2 rugby sessions a week.
Yeah.
And you'll have 1 sort of like youth development movement session with me a week. So we heavily look at that sort of practice versus play approach, or a structured versus non-structured theoretical approach with them. And so they basically have that. And they come in, they have 3 academy of sports sessions a week, plus they have PE and all the other things. So they're quite busy.
Yeah.
Too busy, I think. We're doing a bit of in-house research, actually looking at hours of structured activity versus their age, because we know that showing that if you do more structured activity than your age, that can actually increase your risk of overuse injuries.
So
that's what boys are now experiencing.
So hours for your age. So if you're 14, don't do more than 14 hours.
Yeah. So the research is heavily saying if you're 14 years old, you shouldn't be doing more than 14 hours of structured
Interesting.
activity.
Okay.
Let's say you're 16, same thing. If you're 8, same thing. Some more research has just come out saying you shouldn't be doing the same sport for longer than 8 months in the year. That can then increase your risk of overuse injuries. But that idea of structured activity versus your age and hours versus your age, that's something that's heavily been now, I guess, pushed towards parents. Good. They're thinking, we're now thinking, okay, you got the other end of the spectrum where you got kids who don't move. And then you got these kids who do so much, particularly these sort of high-end kids who are in these academies and representative squads, that suddenly they're going through maturation with the puberty, and then suddenly they're doing too much, and then it's actually putting them at greater risk of these overuse injuries, which can cause greater problems long term.
Yes.
It's pretty interesting, I think. This whole minimizing that. So that's where our theoretical approach comes into play too, with the S&C side of things. We're looking at that sort of structured versus non-structured, or I like to call it play versus practice approach when it comes to S&C.
So if a kid's kind of got to his limit, he knows how many his limit is for the week. Is there a limit to the amount of play time that's outside of that?
No, so we want to try and promote as much play. Or you can think of it, if not really know what play is, non adult guided activities. So let the kids just play,
do their thing.
Whatever that may be. It's more so the structured activity where they got, when there's adults for running the session, that's where they're sort of at greater risk of whatever that may be. So it's play now, play as much as you want, right? Play also spreads the load too. It's just you're loading specific joints, usually the hip, back, knees, probably the most common injury. But with play, you're loading up body, trunk, all sorts. You just play football all year round, constantly during winter, during summer, then suddenly you're loading your hips. You're going through key stages of puberty, you're trying to grow, and things just go a little bit haywire. So we've got a few of the boys actually at the moment suffering from one fracture of their back, actually 2 fractures of their back. Another one's hip has sort of gone disjointed. Myself, I suffer from overuse injuries through my hips when I was 15, 16. I had the double hip surgery. Didn't even realize that was a thing at the time. I was just playing as much sport as I could. I think still at the moment, not much people know about it, but we're trying to actively get that push out. I know physios are now trying to get that out.
That's good.
It's hard though, right? You got a kid who's making academies, making rep teams. How do you tell the kid to stop?
Especially when they're really talented and they can just apply that to any sport, or 2 or 3 different sports. It's as you say, it's just that load, isn't it? And having that play time isn't just about not loading, it's also about the brain, right? And development.
It is like cognitive development. You see, I always say to the kids all the time,
seems to be a particular problem looking at the footballers actually, but I say to the kids all the time, look at and research has shown too that the people who participate in, let's say, 6 sports at a young age, and let's say specialize at the age of 16 to 18, actually have shown enhanced, or they've actually gotten further in their specialized sport compared to those who have, I guess, specialized at the age of 12, stuck at one sport. Suddenly they're injured at the age of 16, 17, 18, and now they've dropped out at the age of 20, you might have the freak athlete who gets through, but there's probably 1,000 people who didn't make it due to injuries or whatnot, to the one person that does make it. So yeah, it's a tough thing to talk to a kid about, but I think introducing them to many sports at a young age would help solve that problem. And many sports that actually, not just football, futsal, maybe like rugby. Rugby is probably over contact, but let's say you're being real safe with it, you might do, I don't know, tennis, which is upper body. Or that you might then do, I don't know, netball. So like you're loading all different
yes.
things, joints. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And you get to see the kids who have, done gymnastics, football, tennis, hockey, all sorts, touch, tag. Suddenly they seem to get further in their career than others.
Right. So it's a real fine balance, isn't it, at the end of the day? And I guess having both the school and the parents on the same page would make quite a big difference. So those pushy parents aren't sending their kids over the edge.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. Yeah, and you can see it too in terms of the motor development and the sort of skill acquisition and stuff like that. In terms of the kids, you can see that the more developed kids, it's always the kids who play multiple sports. Can just pick up a ball and do God knows what with it. So compared to those that just play one sport and suddenly they get introduced to another sport, they're like, shit, they don't know what the hell's going on. So, you can definitely visually see it too. I think it's pretty clear. Yeah, it's pretty clear. You can see it. So.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting stuff. I could talk about this all day. It's just a fascinating topic. It's the real world mixing with the research and getting the best out of both.
Yeah, and trying to apply the research to everyone's. I think parents is a hard thing. Getting across to parents is probably the key message, right? If you get the message across to the parents, I think the kids sort of follow what the parents say and do. So you'd have better results from it. But trying to get those messages out there it seems to be lacking at the moment. I guess as time comes, more people talk about it. I guess. Social media and these sort of platforms, the message gets out there, but
just losing you for a second there. Yeah, so fascinating subject, that whole student development space, really. And it sounds like you're doing that research so that you can actually give some evidence back to the parents, and it just helps the case.
Yeah, we're doing some in-house research for 2 reasons. One reason to try and, I don't even know if the school knows much about it. They've kind of asked me to take on the role to really enhance that space. So we've got 3 other researchers, 3 other pieces going in-house at the moment. That's one of them. So I'm hoping that we can get some information back to the directors, back to the principal, and some information go out to the parents too at the end of our research. To sort of just bring awareness to it. And also to the kids, right? Try and also educate the kids on it. I think that's the space where we're going in terms of that education, and we're also trying to see how, if the kids are doing too much, what can we then do in the S&C environment to help minimize that? Do we need to introduce more play activities? Do we need to be less structured in our approach? You can still introduce play activities that, I don't know, target your lunge, your hip hinge, whatever. You can very much so do that. It's just, okay, what do we do? 50% practice and play, or do we do do we do a 60-40 approach? Do we do a 70-40 approach?
Smart.
So how can we then guide our C practices to then fit what we're then seeing in our data, in our own actual Academy of Sport data, rather than just basing it off research. Let's just do some actual research.
So
two purposes:
clever.
to educate the kids and the directors and parents, and also to then, okay, what can we do in the S&C space to actually help minimize, I guess, these injuries while still contributing to physical development and movement competencies and motor learning and all that sort of stuff.
Clever. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? It's gathering the evidence as you go so that you get better at what you're doing, and you can then, you've always got a case back to the school to say, look, we're doing it this way because X, Y, Z says so.
100%. And I think it's going to be hard to bring the case of, okay, we need to stop doing more structured activity because they've invested so much into putting the systems in place, right? I feel like even if you did approach them, but hey, the kids are doing too much, it might be a bit of back and forth sort of debating. And I doubt much will get changed, particularly if I doubt the directors will want to reduce their time on the field or on the court or whatever. So if that's the case, then what else can we then do? And that's sort of where I can sort of come into play and go, okay, maybe we need to move to more of a play sort of movement based S&C section.
Right.
It's up to debate, that's for sure. But hopefully we can base our discussion off the research and what actually our data is showing, rather than just opinionated. This should be done. This should be done. Here's the data. Let's do something about it.
Let it speak.
Let it speak for itself. So that's one of the big projects that's happening at
exciting
school at the moment. That's good.
What would you recommend someone who's sort of interested in following a pathway similar to yours? Any tips in terms of, I mean, it sounds like talking to lots of different people and lots of different groups, and you said sort of dabbling was what worked well for you, but any other tips in terms of people who are thinking, listening to this is what I want to do?
I would just say try and, if I was to do it again, continue. I think I would do something similar to what I've already done. Continue to, I guess I've done two things. I've tried to build connections. That was first and foremost. I say that to all the university students underneath me. I say, key thing is to try and build connections. I kind of get annoyed at them actually if they're like, I'm just going to go do my placement where I already work. And I'm like, what's the point of that? You're already working there. These placement opportunities or these internship opportunities are for you to sort of build these connections. Don't just take the lazy option and just say, I'm going to work here. I'm going to do my placement here just because I already work here. Because it's a tough industry to get into. So if you're serious about it, I guess put the work in a little bit, and you don't want to do free work experience for the rest of your life. So once you actually start working full time, you would never want to go back to working for free, right? So no, definitely not. So you might as well try and build those experiences while I guess you're studying. And I know during my undergrad you're forced into doing placement experiences, so build as much connections as you can. The second thing I guess is that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get into that performance space, but I knew that's kind of a little bit silly for me to just be so narrow-minded and just say I only want to do this. So with all my placement experiences, I dabbled into a bit of everything. I worked with Carey at 9 round. She knows that wasn't really for me. I did some stuff for Auckland Council as like a fitness instructor, which is they all have their places, right? I learned a lot with Carey and the people who work there and how to deal with people. Fitness instructing role. Again, I did that for a couple of years and was ready to move on. Okay, maybe that's not for me. That sort of gave me a taste of that sort of PT environment. And then sort of trialed the placement with athlete development. Okay, it's a little bit more interesting, that youth space. You can learn. I find what's interesting with the youth space is that you can trial and error things and the kids never know.
Right.
Which I find really, really good. Good for people who are coming into the scene is that you can get something wrong and they have no idea. So you can just keep doing new things on them. I guess building your own, I guess, S&C knowledge.
Yeah.
And they have no idea. When with adults, if you come across and you don't really know what you're talking about, you sort of lose that rapport, you lose that trust. Suddenly,
right.
I don't know, that's what I've found anyways. Suddenly you don't really know, you look like, this guy doesn't really know what he's doing. Suddenly you've lost him. But when with the kids, it's like, okay, I can trial this and new, trial this and new, trial that.
Sure.
I really know what I'm talking about. The kids don't know. So that's been a good learning curve for me too. And then, and then obviously I've dabbled into that performance in space, and I've sort of thought that's where I wanted to go. So yeah, I'd say, so sort of veering off there, I'd say, try and build as many connections as you can. It sort of worked for me. It's say that it's the people you know, right? I'd equally say that I've worked to try and build those connections. I haven't just relied on people to get me jobs.
Sure.
And have a dabble into that, all sorts. Group film scene, PT, youth development. I've done some, I'm now working in the performance environment too. I'm now thinking research is something I'm interested in. So I've dabbled into like 5 different things just to figure out what I really want to do. So
good stuff.
I think those would be two and always work hard while you're there, I think, is another thing. You're there, you have to be there. If you're on an internship or you're on a placement, you got to be there and do your hours. So no point. There's nothing worse than someone just showing up to do their hours and then leaving, because that's going to get you nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that work ethic's very important.
I think so. Work ethic is very important anywhere, but if you really want to, I guess, want a role, I've been fortunate enough that I landed myself a role in athlete development in New Zealand football. I've kind of been offered roles everywhere I've been, fortunately. You're there, you might as well work.
Yeah, absolutely. Put in the graft. You don't get anything out if you don't put anything in.
100%, be a sponge.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what I'd say. I hope
that's great.
Yeah.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. It's great to talk to someone who's whose work relates still to the industry, but it's a slightly different flavor, and I think that'll be really useful for people listening. So I appreciate your time, Caleb, and also your openness to with all of the things that you've talked about and shared with us today. And I hope that you have huge success in the future.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. Yeah, still early on.
Early days, but you've already done quite a bit already. So good luck with that. What sounds like the PhD is on its way.
We'll see.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll probably chuck a few more wrinkles on my forehead.
Cool. All right. Good to talk, and catch you another time. Thanks, Caleb.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.